Boys Town Gang. I can't take my eyes off of you. Dis hier op MielieFM. Skols vir jou oor in 90.7. Ek is Rolf Leon saam met jou ook in 'n goeiemiddag. Welkom. So ek het 'n lekker verrassing vir jou. Ek het 'n bietjie vroeër vir jou vertel, as jy so 'n bietjie jou kultuur wil opskerp, moet jy nou mooi uitluister. Hier is 'n bietjie van 'n ballet wat op pad is, wat Bloemfontein gaan tref saam met Pakkos, so die ouens werk. Dis die Mzansi Ballet saam met Pakkos. Die produksie is The Gold Rhino of, en ek hoop ek gaan hierdie reg kry, Mapugoop. Ek kan nie.
Dirk,
dankie Dirk. Thank you so much. Ek het vir Dirk van Mzansi Ballet in die ateljee saam met my. Also have a lady from England. I cannot believe it. Zinnia, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Awesome stuff. I always love talking to foreigners, but you've moved now to South Africa.
Yes,
You call this home now.
Yes, pretty much, yeah.
That's amazing. I love this. All right. Okay, so let's quickly talk about the ballet. First of all, why Bloemfontein? Why did you guys decide to bring it here?
Well, I created the ballet 3 years ago, and it's done the Cape Town, Johannesburg, Pretoria, and so the next big, beautiful theatre in South Africa is Sanduplessis or Packhoff's. And so that's why I decided that this is where I would love to have it. And so we started talking to Packhoff's, and a year ago they said, okay, we'd love for you to bring it. And it's an incredible production. There are going to be 80 plus performers on stage, singers, dancers. The ballet was created for us. We had 7 composers, varying from Wouter Kellerman, now triple Grammy Award-winning flautist of South Africa. We have Dr. Roel Khoza, Dr. Kara Stasie Mpomori from Lesotho, our neighbor, Matthijs van Dijk, and then the main choreographer, our composer is Mark Chain. And then we have choral compositions by S.J. Khoza, who's the only composer of the ballet that's not still alive, which is really rare. If you think of Swan Lake and all the other, they're all dead.
Yeah.
We have it the other way around, which is fantastic.
That's incredible. Wow.
And then the costumes were made by David Lale. And then most of the choreography was done by Angela Reevy, and she's also the person that I worked with the most in creating this ballet. The research that we had done, because Mapungubwe is a true story. It's based on a story that was, or a tribe of people that lived where Zimbabwe, Botswana, and South Africa confluences. And 1,000 years ago, they were one of the most successful tribes in the world. When the Angkor Wat, the Vikings, the Mongolians, they were all doing their thing, and there was this tribe where they used to trade with the Chinese. The Chinese would come all the way from China down the east coast of Africa onto the Limpopo River and come and get gold and horns and things like that, and they would bring their porcelain and things for us. And we also traded with the Middle East, which is also interesting, because if you know Swahili, it has a lot of Arabic words in it. And many years ago I was thinking, I would love to have a unified Africa, like the United States of Africa, because I only believe that's the only way we will be able to beat America and the rest of the world off our doorstep. And then I read that 37 to 39 million Arabs speak Swahili. I was like, what the hell is that about?
Really?
And it's because they used to come down the east coast of Africa, create these Swahili states, and so that's how it worked, and they would trade with us. And so this little gold rhino, which is the size of 2 fists, like your heart almost, was dug up then in the 30s. So it was made in 1070 to 1190. And then in 1930s, a young guy called Jerry van Graan went hunting with a friend, and they came across a guy that gave them water in this very beautiful vessel, which turned out to be one of the gold things that came from Mapungubwe. And this guy was Mr. Mokoena, and he was tasked to keep people away from the hill of Mapungubwe, because in 1190 more or less, or 1170, the tribe ceased to exist. And there's no reason, there were no wars.
That's what I wanted to ask you. How did they just sort of disappear?
They kind of disappeared. So some people moved to Zimbabwe. So the Zimbabwe ruins are from the people of Mapungubwe.
Influenced by them.
But there are also people in the Eastern Cape that are from there. There are 7 royal families that claims lineage to Mapungubwe, which is all possible. It's not the one more than the other. If you think of just the British royal family, where they've had so many kids and grandkids, and so at some stage you just move on. And so since the tribe ceased to exist in the 1100s, nobody went up the hill. It was seen as a holy site. And then this guy in the 30s dug it up, and him and his friends wanted to melt it and sell the gold. And
wow.
then we don't know why. And our ballet is based on a little bit of poetic freedom and poetic license. We kind of decided, let's show how amazing this place looked in that time. And so you go back into 1,000 years ago to look at the glory days of Mapungubwe, the richness of all. And so that is kind of the basic. And then when he wakes up, he decides and tells his friends, we're not going to melt this. We are actually going to keep this for prosperity and celebrate the incredible
heritage
and place that South Africa.
So that's pretty much the story that you guys are going to reflect on stage with the costumes, with the backgrounds, with everything, with the dances, the different dances, different elements, not just ballet, not just classic ballet. As I read the press release as well, I mean, you say it's more an Afro ballet, a contemporary dance. There's, it's.
So there's pure classical ballet in it.
Yeah.
But there's also contemporary. There's a woman's dance, which is every time we get the audiences ululating in the ballet, in the audience, they just absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And it's the first ballet that I've created in 30 odd years in the world of ballet, where our white and our black audiences enjoy the ballet equally. It's really incredible because the story is so clear. We have some narration, but the story is really, really clear in that you see it all unfold in front of you, but you see the ballet. And I've had some of my board members that say, like, for moments we forget that it's a ballet, and then suddenly the girls are on point, and you go, oh, but I am still watching a ballet. But the story is just so well told, and the choreography is just so beautifully done by Angela Reevy. And so that really, really works. And the costumes really reflects Africa. So David Tlale used the term Afro chic, and it's really that. It's beautiful. Some of those things you can actually wear to a very fancy event today, because he wanted to make something African, but he didn't want to make sheepskins and things like that. So, for instance, if you think of the ballet Giselle, the Willies, the dead woman that had their hearts broken, wear these, what they call romantic tutus. There's a white bodice with a bell-shaped skirt. And David took leather outfits for the girls and boys because they all wear the same, and from grass created this bell-shaped skirt. So it's an absolutely African outfit.
Probably South African.
And yet,
product,
it shows the link to classical ballet. So that's amazing. It's really,
still
really fantastic.
Still respecting the discipline or where it comes from, but by giving us the South African flavor. So
the music is definitely, there's no doubt about it. It's from Tintuano, which is this very famous African song to Fambangahle right at the end, which is a blessing song that as the people exit the theater, they sing this blessing the people going home and say, have a safe journey home. So those are really, really, really incredible aspects. And what's amazing, so we have Zinnia from the UK, we have Ariel from Cuba, we have Marlon from Brazil, we have a half Japanese ballerina called Summer, and so they come in and they have to learn this South African style, and they have to work with the cast, which include young dancers from Bloemfontein. It includes the choir from Grey College, and then dancers from Mzansi Ballet that goes from Cape Town to Limpopo. So that's exactly what it is.
So now tell me, being a European, I mean, how old are you now?
21.
It's a bad question to ask a lady, but I'm so sorry about that.
It's on the light side, so I'll
it didn't
admit
actually worry. After I asked it, I realized I should have done that. But the thing is, I mean, you lived your whole life in Britain, and then now it's only been a few months that you're in South Africa. Being part of this ballet, of this production, learning the history, going through it all, how does it sort of weigh up to the European art scene at this point?
Well, I mean,
if you have to sort of differentiate.
it's my first time doing the production, so I've never done it in any of the other locations. So obviously there's a few of us within the cast recently who've never done the ballet, so we've all sort of learnt the story and get to learn the history. And unfortunately, I think within the British education system as a whole, when I was at school and I did history, there's nothing really about African history, especially like South African history. So it was I think ever since I've been in South Africa, learning about stuff, it's been completely eye-opening and an interesting like experience to sort of learn about like the culture and the heritage. And I think obviously then I'm very excited to do it alongside live singers. I think that's an incredible thing that I have not really seen anything of. Obviously you have live orchestras a lot within Europe and across the world, but having a live singer on stage next to you, I think it's quite something, so I'm very excited to experience that. And obviously people who are obviously from South Africa, and I guess you have more people who identify more with the story and the culture, and then you obviously have us foreigners within the group. But I think for me and my experience growing up in the UK, I mean, I was trained quite classically with the English technique, and then of the stuff I've watched more classical productions, the very traditional Petipa Russian sort of productions like the Swan Lakes, the Nutcrackers.
Yeah.
And I feel for me coming here and having joined Mzansi Ballet, it's a really sort of different, unique take on presenting ballet to an audience within the 21st century. Because I feel like with your classical ballets, it can be quite more of an isolating thing. You know, you sort of have to understand and appreciate, you know. So I think stuff like Swan Lake is a beautiful ballet, but it's quite like, you know, everyone's in a white tutu and you're all stood on the side looking down, waiting for her to flap her arms and do those pâtés in the middle of the stage. But with this, you know, we've taken, you know, this, which is a story which is, you know, culturally resonates with the South African community, and we've done ABBA and Neil Diamond, and you've done Queen, and it's stuff that's more current to sort of younger people and older people, and I think it brings in a new audience that sort of
definitely
that pulls in everyone.
That's very true, because I think, I mean, I grew up in a house without music and without poetry or anything like that, and started writing when I was younger, and my mom, I realized she's afraid. She's so afraid of poetry, and it comes from a very young age. Her mother was very harsh on her with her writing style and what she did. So much so that she discarded it completely. And I think with ballet and with the arts, especially the classic arts,
I think when
a lot of people are afraid. It's very overwhelming. So this is nice to introduce people.
I think it's a good way to introduce an audience, and especially with a story that's, again, sort of
truly South African,
but also for me, like, since I've you know, been part of the like cast and learning the ballet, but I've also got to learn a bit that's like a story that's culturally relevant to South Africa, and it's actually very, very interesting, and it's like actually a really beautiful story as well. So
are you going to stay in South Africa now? Have you decided yet?
The first time I came, I kept ringing my mum, being like, oh, I don't know, I think it feels awfully permanent me staying here. I think you might have to start booking flights to come and visit me, because I don't want to go home. The weather, people, everyone's very joyful here. It's a bit different.
It's a sun. I realize even the British comedy is very dark for me and very grimy. I love it, but it's very grimy, and I think it reflects the weather.
100%.
So I would also feel like that if it was always overcast. Listen, our time unfortunately has run out, but it was really nice to meet you as well. Good luck with the show. Dirk, so vinnig net vir die ouens wat belangstel, julle eerste een is donderdag, nou die 27ste, die 3:00 die middag. Dan het julle ook nou julle nog 'n paar ander Vrydag en Saterdag, maar die ouens maar Pakhofs en het julle
die kaartjies is by Webtickets.
Okay.
En ek moedig regtig die luisteraars van Langenhovenpark aan om regtig die produksie te kom ondersteun. As dit Swan en Meer was, het almal onmiddellik geweet wat dit is. Maar hier is so totaal anderste ervaring, en jy sal dit beslis geniet. Ek kan jou 100% waarborg dat jy nie gaan uitstap en wens jy het liewers nie gekom nie. Dit is 'n ongelooflike grootse produksie. En die impak daarvan op jou as 'n persoon, maar ook as 'n ouer, as jy jou kind bring, en 'n skoolier, as jy onderwyser is, bring jou kinders van jou klas, veral jou graad 6 en 7's wat Mapungubwe in graad 6 en 7 studeer. Want dit is regtig 'n sinvolle manier om daai studiemateriaal deel van jou te maak. Dit is 'n ander visuele manier, is 'n Dit is 'n reg emosionele manier. So asseblief en baie dankie dat julle ons op julle radiostasie gehad het.
Groot plesier. So ja, jy het nou daar het jy die storie gehoor, verryk jouself bietjie. Nie sê daar gebeur nie interessante en goeie goeders in Bloemfontein nie. So maak seker jy kry daai kaartjies vir jou by Webtickets. En so ja, ek moet eintlik ook baie sê, maar ek gaan eers nog so tune of twee met jou deel en dan gaan ons groet. Hoop jy 'n lekker dag. Hier is MielieFM, skons vir jou ore.